Okay, so this is for lesson 9-4, okay? So I want you to write down these measures of center. This is what we learned already. So we learned about measures of center already. And what are the three measures of center?
Mean, median, and mode.
Good, so let's write those down. Your three measures of center are mean, median, and mode. Okay, it's your three M's. What you're learning today is measures of variation. I forgot how this writes when you record it. Okay, so your three measures of variation are range, which I believe some of you already know, IQR, which you're also going to learn today, and your IQR is interquartile range. And tomorrow we're going to learn about MAD, which is mean absolute deviation. Okay, so we're going to learn today about range and IQR. All right? So these are your different types of measures of center. This is your measure of center, which is mean, median, mode, which talk about the center of your data. Measures of variation talks about the data distribution, how much your data varies from your largest to your smallest, things like that, okay? All right, so we are gonna go to, oh, wait, let me go back up real quick. So it says the range of a data set is the difference. What does difference mean? Subtraction, and you're subtracting the greatest value from the least value, okay? So that's what we're going to be doing right now. So here is finding the range. The table shows the lengths of several Burmese pythons captured for a study. Find and interpret the range of the length. So what's great about this is, technically, what did we just say range was? You're finding what? What are we finding? The greatest value from the least, okay? So largest and the least. Do we have to actually collect all the data and put them in order? Do we have to put them in order? I mean, that's a lot of data. Sometimes you're gonna have more than that. So do you think you have to put them in order? No, you just have to find what? The smallest and the greatest, okay? So, what is your largest? What is your largest? 18.5. And what's your least? 5. All right, so, I'm not gonna say names, said that we have to find the difference, correct? So difference means, what are we doing? Subtracting. So you are going to take 18.5 and subtract it from 5. And what do you get?
13.5.
13.5. So this is your range. Okay? Now, you may see the answer, and I actually think for some reason, yesterday, I think it was try 5, they had range in it. And I don't know why, I think it was a glitch. So, there was 2 parts to it. It said, what's the range? And then it said something like this. It said the lengths. And this is how you know they're talking about variation. The lengths vary by no more than 13.5 feet. And that's what you're looking for. Okay. All right, so this is your actual answer. All right, that's your actual answer. So the lengths vary by no more than 13.5 feet. If you see the word vary, that means you're talking about, we have it here, measures of variation, all right, and we're talking about the range because it's just saying what are the lengths varying. It doesn't say anything else. And you'll understand more when I get into example 2. So vary means we're talking about the range right now. Okay? Is everyone good with example 1?
Yes.
Okay. So range, what do we do?
So find the
Greatest number minus
least
least number. Excellent. Okay. This is the part that my block 1 was saying was tricky. Okay. So it's just a lot of detail, but basically it's finding the median 3 different times. Okay. It's all about finding the median. So we're learning about quartiles. Okay. The quartiles of a data set divide the data into 4 equal parts. Recall the median. Recall that the median, which is also the second quartile, divides the data set into 2 halves. Okay, so first things first, quartiles, your data must be least to greatest. Everyone in block 1 was having, well, not everyone, but a lot of people that came to me were struggling because they were like, I don't understand. They did everything right. They found the quartile 2, quartile 3, quartile 1, but they never put the data in order. So technically they're incorrect. Does everyone understand that? Okay? So the data must be least to greatest. You have to check that it is in order. Okay? All right, so is my data in order? Yes. Okay. The first thing we have to find is quartile 2. That is the first thing we have to find. And quartile 2 has another name, and it's called the median. And we have done the median. So how do we find the median of a data set? What do we do?
Well, first you gotta if it's an odd data set or an even data set.
Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 data values.
That's even. So
Okay.
that means that there's going to be 2 in the middle. And then what happens is, in this case, it's 28 and 30, so you have to add them and then divide them by 2.
Excellent. Okay, so we have an even number of data sets. So remember, we cross them off until we get to the middle, and we wind up with 2 in the middle. So we're going to do 28 plus what? 30. And then what are we going to divide by? 2. Very good. So what's 28 plus 30? 58. And then divide by 2. What do you get? 29. And is that what they got?
Yes.
And it makes sense, right? It's in between, what's in between 28 and 30? 29. Okay? So 29 is your quartile 2. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is where it's all new. So we're going to do more to this data value. The one thing you have to remember, all right? The one thing you have to remember is that your quartile 2 is not included when you find quartile 1 and quartile 3. So I would write that down somewhere that you do not include quartile 2 when finding quartile 1 and quartile 3. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right, so we are not including quartile 2. So what's our quartile 2? No. What's our quartile 2? 29. Okay, so 29 is actually not part of our data set. Do you see that? So when we're finding quartile 1, we're using just the lower half. So quartile 1 is the median of the lower half of the data. All right, what do you think quartile 3 is then?
The upper half.
What about the upper half? It's the median of the upper half. Median of upper half. Does this make sense so far?
Mhm.
Okay. So, again, and I'm sorry that that's up here, okay. So, again, did I include quartile 2?
Yeah.
I did?
No.
No, 29 is not in there, okay? So, we are finding the median of this lower half. Can we do that? Yeah. So, we're gonna cross off, and what do we get? 22. So, our quartile 1, and sometimes people say Q sub 1. That means the same thing, okay? Quartile 1 is 22. Now we have to find quartile 3. So what numbers, where am I going to start actually? Let's put it that way. Where am I going to start? At 30. And where am I going to end, obviously? 37. Okay, does everyone understand that? All right, so did I include quartile 2? No, that's a good thing. So cross off and find the median. And what do I get? 32. All right, and that's your quartile 3. Does this make sense?
Yes.
All right, so now, when they say that your quartiles of a data set divide the data into 4 equal parts, this is what they mean. From here to here is one section. So from the least to quartile 1. From quartile 1 to quartile 2 is your second section. What do you think the third split is? Go ahead.
32.
Yeah, so from quartile 2 to quartile 3, and then your last set is from quartile 3 to your greatest. Does everyone see how they're split into 4 even parts? Okay? All right, is everybody good here? Yeah. Okay, so now that we found quartile 1 and quartile 3, we now can find the IQR. And IQR stands for the interquartile range, okay? So I'm going to break this up a little bit. Range. When we did range, just range, what did we do? How did we find range? We did greatest minus least. Okay. Quartile. We know what quartiles mean, right? Now we're doing interquartile. Think of what inter means. Like middle. It means like inside all of your data. So if I go back up here to this information, look at your middle half. That's your interquartile range. Does that make sense? So with that, what that means is you're taking quartile 3 and quartile 1, and we are subtracting. So it's pretty much like the range, but you're not doing the greatest minus least, you're doing quartile 3 minus quartile 1. Does that make sense? Okay. And then I just have to show you one more thing, because do you remember how one of you said it's an even number of data? Remember in the beginning we said it was even numbers, so the median, the quartile 2 had 2 middle numbers? It's a little different when we have an odd number. So just to make sure, I want you to understand this. Ready? Pretend I didn't have 37. So now I have an even number of data set. An odd number of data set. Yes?
Yeah.
So that means if I cross these off, I'm going to come up with this as my quartile 2. What's different is, before, your quartile 2 is not part of the data set. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Now it is. When I find quartile 1, what did I say about quartile 2? I heard it. Don't include it. So, am I including 28 when I'm finding quartile 1? No. So you are starting from 24. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
All right. So for quartile 3, do I include 28?
No.
No. So I can start at 30. Then you're going to have to find the mean of these two and the mean of these two. Does this make sense?
Yes.
All right. So obviously quartile 1 would be 21 and a half. quartile 3 would be 31.5, and then you would subtract those. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so you just have to keep remembering that quartile 2 is not included when you find quartile 1 and quartile 3. Okay, that's the biggest thing you have to remember. Is everybody okay?
Yeah.
All right, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna do your triads. You have 1, 2, no number 3, just number 4, okay? I went through all your triads and self-assessments yesterday for 9-1 and 9-3. So when you're done with this, go back and make sure I wrote back to you and I said what you need to finish, or maybe you didn't tell me you finished and you have to tell me you finished, okay? And then I have my Welsh one, here it is. Okay, so this is what you're doing. You're gonna complete your triads and self-assessment questions. Then I want you to go to Skills Trainer. Everyone knows where to go. Let's go to Skills Trainer. Click on Chapter 9. There's a section of 9-4. There's 3 categories. One is range. One is the IQR, which stands for what?
Interquartile range.
Interquartile range. And another one is finding the outlier. I want you to do 2 of each category. Okay? When you do that, when you're done, you're going to complete 2 MyPaths, and then if you still have more time, you could watch Edpuzzles. But I'm thinking you're just going to be at numbers 1 and 2. Okay? Any questions? Yes. All right. Everybody else is okay? All right. I'm going to stop the recording. You guys are awesome.
I need help.
And
I couldn't even.
let me hit stop record before you start